for Ghana Moon, Rebecca Nyandende Mubio, James Waniga, Nyalden Nyal, among others. These main people expressed interest that they wanted to contest for the position of the chairman of the SPLM. Some put it straightforwardly, but some also put it tactfully. For example, Waniga would say, well, if the chairman is not running, then I can run at some point. But when he's with others, he would say, I want to run. Nyalde would say the same thing, that I want to run. But when he's confronted, he will try to back off. So the debate became intense around the issue of leadership because the convention was coming. Now around the same time in 2012, SPLM sent teams to different states to carry out performance evaluation and at the same time to thank people for electing the SPLM party in 2010 elections and for voting overwhelmingly for the independence in the referendum. But what came back with these teams was shocking. The picture they got from the people, from the grassroots, was completely different. The people said that the SPLM had lost vision, that people in power in Juba have no sense of mission of why we went to the bush in the first place, and that SPLM leaders have become a bunch of self-seeking individuals who have no country and people at heart, that the SPLM government at all levels, whether at the local level or at the national level, have become, the SPLM government was completely corrupt. The ruling party and the people who were in the bush in particular have developed a sense of entitlement, that sectarianism and tribalism and economic mismanagement have become the order of the day, and that there were falling levels of human security and lack of freedoms and basic social services. All this were cited by the people when they were consulted. When these reports were compiled and brought back to Juba, there was one pertinent question. The shareholders have spoken about what is happening with the management. And to be specific about what's happening with the chief executive officer. You know, they didn't say that the chief executive officer was not doing well, but actually this is what they were saying. So this generated a debate within the SPLM leadership, in the political bureau, in addition to the fact that it actually fueled debate around the leadership. Now, there was a meeting at the palace at J1, a dinner organized in the honor of former South African President Thabo Mbeki and the former Nigerian President Dr. Salam Abubakar and the former Burundian President Pierre Boye. And in that dinner, the chairman of the SPLM came out very clearly that he was not going to seek re-election. And this was in the presence of the other SPLM leaders. Again, this word went out that the chairman was not going to seek re-election. So the word from the chairman that he was not going to seek re-election, and the performance evaluation report that came from the states, the SPLM convention being around the corner, all this again helped in intensifying debate around how the SPLM should be reorganized and how the leadership issue should actually be handled. Now, in a state of SPLM leadership focusing on addressing these concerns, there were moves to stifle debate and getting voices of some people who were being somehow hypercritical. And so people like Bugana Mung was the Secretary General, was put under house arrest. He was told not to talk. He was told not to travel out of the country. And so many other things. It was in the media anyway. Shortly after that, the powers of the Vice President were taken. The Vice President was stripped of his powers. And then in July, the SPLM had completely lost internal harmony, and the chairman moved from the SPLM cadres. He became very close to elements that many of us know were the Mu'tamar al-Watani, the NCP. You know that our two houses of parliament, the upper and the lower houses, are actually being controlled by the Mu'tamar al-Watani. Paul Chan was, up to 2013, you know, it was shortly after the referendum that he joined the SPLM. People like Nagor Mundial, it was after the independence was declared that they joined the SPLM, and so many of them. They now control the two houses of parliament. So the president started to move away from the SPLM cadres and literally surrendered SPLM power to the NCP and some of his close allies, and there was no constitutionalism within the SPLM party. The SPLM structures were not working, and at some point the president came out very clearly that there was no legal basis for this institution to continue to operate except for his office, the office of the chairman of the SPLM. Many efforts were attempted to resolve these internal acrimonies of the SPLM party. And so many SPLM cadres approached the chairman, the president, to de-escalate and seek reconciliation and harmony. In the region, South African ANC intervened, and Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa came to Juba, Colin Shibani, and they tried to work on healing SPLM differences. The Ethiopian Prime Minister, Mariam Saleh, and international community, the US, and other governments try to help normalize tensions within the SPLM, but then that didn't work. It was against this backdrop that on the 6th of December 2013, a group of SPLM leaders, because there was, SPLM had become completely dysfunctional and inoperative. So at that point, a group of SPLM leaders decided to inform the public, to take the debate to the public domain, because it hasn't worked, within the SPLM. Now, this press conference was sanctioned by the government, by the security agencies, as legal assembly, and based on our constitution that is allowed. So this meeting took place on the 6th of December. No doubt that the SPLM leaders were critical of the president. They were critical about the internal functioning of the SPLM party, but they called for dialogue. They also promised South Sudanese public that on the 14th of December they will hold a rally in Juba. On December 8th, 2013, the other group claiming loyalty to the SPLM chairman actually paid back in kind. They reciprocated. They organized another press conference, and they were led by the current vice president, Comrade James Waniga. Again, in the same venue and in exercise of their democratic right to respond to statements that were made by their colleagues at the press conference of the 6th of December 2013. On the 13th of December, the NLC meeting convened in Juba amid tension and disharmony. Our religious leaders actually intervened, Archbishop Lukudu and Archbishop Den. They sent out a very clear message that no meeting can actually take place in this kind of environment, which is very tense and acrimonious. The president did not listen to them because he was the chair of that meeting and went ahead with the meeting. All along, he has been resistant to the idea of SPLM political bureau meeting, but at that point accepted the SPLM National Liberation Council meeting to take place in Juba, when the members had been brought and kept there for a few days after money had changed hands. So when he was satisfied that enough buying had taken place, he now accepted that the meeting would have to take place. So the meeting took place. Religious leaders were against it completely, but nobody listened to them. Now, on the 15th of December, there was a shootout. Shooting was heard in Al-Qiyada Barracks, within the Presidential Guard Division. And as I said before, because I don't want to talk about it again, I gave it gave some background in my opening statement that the government decided to mischaracterize it deliberately as an attempted coup, which it wasn't. It was actually a mutiny, and I said, if you want to punish some people that you believed were behind it, in the court of law, it amounts to the same thing, capital punishment, whether it is mutiny or it is a coup. But the idea of a coup was pursued by the government just for cheap political gain and to sell it somehow in the context of the African Union and the world. But they have failed. They have failed very badly in their issue-selling efforts, and we know that nobody believes that there was a coup. But of course, there was a mutiny that led now to a rebellion. Now, we now have a civil war, but